So I just wanted to do a brief video, an update on my Cayman, and then some thoughts on my next possible car purchase, which won't be until late next year. So it's been about a year, probably a bit less than a year, since the last time I did an update on the Cayman. It's been fine, apart from most recently, which we'll come on to. So just continuing to enjoy it, really. I've got another drive planned with my daughter because she still enjoys coming out with me in it, where we just go out for quite a sedate drive, we go for breakfast, we come home. She still really gets a big kick out of it and is now starting to notice the benefits of the sports seats. So she comes from our family car into that, and even on school pickup the other day, she was like, oh, I like the seats, they hold you in. And it's like, yeah, that's what they're designed for. And you try and talk to her about it a bit more than that and just blank, just loses interest. But she still enjoys being picked up with it and enjoys going in it and finds it something to be quite special. So one more issue I've had with the car. I was out with my wife for the day, and then on the drive home, just normal motorway driving, maybe 60, 70 miles an hour or so, got a warning light, PSN warning, came up on the dash, very quickly followed by a, start stop inactive warning, and cruise control also wasn't working on the car. You have to excuse the depth of my voice. I've been suffering a little bit of COVID recently, so it might sound a bit different to normal. But yeah, PSM, start stop deactivated, and cruise control wasn't working. So with all three of those, the internet takes you to one fix, which is the brake pedal bushings. And I didn't realise this, there's two plastic tubes which have gubbins inside them which do things. And apparently they heat up, they have issues within them, and then the car sensor thinks your brakes are on all the time, basically, even though they're not. So it did actually end up being that issue. It was about £370 to fix, only about 50 quid in parts. But then you're looking at 100 quid for diagnosis and an hour and a half, 2 hours to actually replace them, because one of mine apparently was quite tricky. If your car is idling badly and you get one of those, apparently it can be the coil pack. It wasn't the case for me. Also, it could, if you get one of those faults, it could also be the battery, but my battery's in good health, so again, it wasn't that for me. If you get all three of those, very likely to be the brake pedal bushers. Apparently easier to change on a PDK than on a manual. So got that done, sorted, and surprisingly enough, the brake pedal feels a lot nicer now. A lot more of a consistent feel to it, as opposed to kind of a little bit of deadness, and then you get a reasonable feel. It's got reasonable feel now all the way through. So nice to have that sorted, very simple fix, thankfully. Unfortunately, I will put in pictures while the car was there. A truck, they've got a company called Pi Performance, really, really good. Chris, their owner of it, is fantastic, but they're having lots of work done. It's going to be a fantastic facility, a really great independent Porsche specialist based in Suffolk. While it was there, one of the workers reversed into my car and has damaged the underside of it, and again, I'll put in pictures. He called me before I saw it, obviously, so he called me before I went to pick up the car to tell me that was the problem, and obviously they'd pay for complete rectification of that work. So that's going to be done in the next couple of weeks. I'll get that, hopefully. I'll speak to the body shop, and they will respray that area of the car. Bit of a bummer, looks a bit rubbish, but they've been fantastic with dealing with it. Didn't leave it to me to find it and then challenge it, told me straight away that that was the problem. I'm going to be using my car even less from now on as well, because I do use my car once a week to pick my daughter up from school, but she's now going to secondary school, she's walking to secondary school, so the car's going to get less use. So this time next year, I'm going to have the car serviced, and then I'll be selling it. In the meantime, I've been doing lots of research for the next car, and my initial thoughts were GT4 PDK 718, Audi R8 V10 Plus Gen 2, or a McLaren 570S or 570 GT. So before you all start jumping in the comments about McLarens and things like that, I will come on to my thoughts on that in a minute. So I've kind of ruled out the Porsche because it's too close to what my current car is. Yes, it's a different engine. Yes, it'll have different body kits on it. Yes, it will drive in a far more enjoyable fashion on B-roads and on track, etc. But from a looks perspective and from sitting inside the cabin perspective, it's a very similar look and feel car. And life is too short to just keep within the same look and feel car all the time. I can see myself coming back to a GT4, but for my next car, I think I'd like to try something different. So I ruled that car out. I did look at the 991 GT3s. I think it's 991.1s, but they're still about a 90k and they're 2014. So it'll be a little bit too old for what I'm looking for. I typically buy cars about 6-7 years old, keep them for 4 or 5 years tops, and then sell them on, because I tend to find that cars, when they get to 10 years old, they start to develop lots of problems, faults, stuff starts to wear out and so on. So the 911 GT3s that I can afford are a little bit too old, and the ones I would like are obviously a little bit too expensive. So I ruled those out as well. I was absolutely sure I was going to get the R8. Did lots of research into them. The only real issues with them are the dampers, the suspension. They break. There's a specific setup on those cars, which is actually very good when you drive them. Mag ride suspension it's called, but they are prone to failing, and lots of people get just passive setup put on them, but I wouldn't want to do that. I'd want to keep that if that's part of the car. Running costs are actually pretty decent. They're about 70k-ish to buy. Anything from late 60s up to 100, just under 100 to buy. And it's about, I think it was about 1,500 quid, 2 grand for an Audi extended warranty, and they're extremely reliable. V10, 2 seats, quite a special car, quite a special platform, but it sounds really snobby, but the badge just never got, and the car itself never got me particularly excited. Yes, it's a supercar. Yes, it's extremely quick. Yes, it's reliable. I think it looks great, to be honest with you. It ticks an awful lot of boxes, apart from the kind of the heartstring box. It's the sensible supercar choice. So then I'd heard obviously what everyone else has heard about McLarens, so I did a huge amount of research into the 570S and the 570 GT. Again, you could pick one up for 75 to 80 grand. 2016, even 2018, some of them are 2019s if you go private. So quite a new model as well. And the problems they typically suffer from are corrosion, so paint corrosion, which once sorted is fine, but they all had that problem from the factory up to, I think it was about 2018, maybe even 2019. And it's quite expensive. You need to get each panel resprayed if you see some bubbling. So that's one of the biggest problems. The springs break, which I don't understand at all, but the springs are prone to snapping, quite cheap to fix. They have leaking shocks, which again are fairly cheap to fix. The door mechanisms are prone to breaking as well, but again, not that expensive to fix. They have some electrical things, but nothing major. It's always like restart the car, turn it off, disconnect the battery, restart it, it's fine. And the door switch, the window switches apparently are prone to failure if you get water ingress into those. But mine will be kept in a garage, so I don't think that'll be a problem. The powertrain on these, which is the most important thing, the twin turbo V8 and the gearbox is very, very solid, like kind of bulletproof solid, unless you're really stupid with the car. So you're not supposed to start the car up and rev it cold because of the way the engine apparently picks up oil, and it's really explained very well in the Thorny Motorsport video. So the engine kind of picks up oil as it warms up, and if you rev it before it's had an opportunity to pick up that oil, there is the possibility of doing damage to the actual car itself from the engine. But generally, other than those things I've mentioned, they're actually very reliable. And if you go onto groups, owners groups, not just hearsay on the internet, lots of people have had very, very positive experiences. And the ones you always hear about are obviously the very negative experiences, not so much the positive ones. To the point where most people, I did a poll on a couple of Facebook groups, and 80% of the people run them without any warranty at all. So the warranty on these is about 3,200-ish aftermarket, warranty from McLaren, extended McLaren warranty. If you wanted to go down the Thorny Motorsport or equivalent, it's like almost 3 grand, 2,850. But what most people seem to do is put about 2.5 grand aside a year. And then if it's called upon, you use it. If not, you don't, obviously. And most people, well, everyone does that, seems to have ended up quids in after 3 or 4 years. So let's say after 4 years, you put 10 grand aside, maybe you spend 3 or 4 of it. maybe you haven't. So I think that is what I would look to do. Buy the car. It's about, put aside £1.5 a year for servicing. If you go independents, which there's very good ones, V Engineering, Thorny Motorsport and others, they're the closest. They're like 2 hours from me, but Renworks, they're about an hour or so away. So there's 3 that are a decent distance from me. Independents, and actually it's more like 800 or 600 to 1,000 depending on the service and what's being done. But if you put aside £1.5 for servicing, 2.5 for any problems, and then tax and stuff like that, that's kind of where you are with running costs for one of those for a year. So if you eat that entire 2.5 grand, you're probably at about £4,500 to £5,000 a year running costs with insurance, tax, MOT, etc. So that's the car. They're the cars, the GT and the 570S, that really get me excited. I've got a picture of myself at Goodwood Festival of Speed with my daughter holding a McLaren bag, and they actually bought me this when we were there, just a Lego from the McLaren stand. And my wife said to me, you know, maybe one day if you're lucky enough, you could potentially own a McLaren. And they're just such special things. I sat in one on the weekend, and when I was out with a group, and they're just very special cars. I wasn't sure if I could fit it in my garage. I can. So I'm hoping, all things going well with work and savings and things, late next year I should be able to get a McLaren, either 570S or GT. Ideally 570S, because they come with carbon ceramics. GTs as an optional extra, but actually I prefer the shape of the GT. Maybe I'll do another video on this if people are interested, to explain all the research that I've done and why I'm looking at those particular cars. Anyway, rambling on a bit now. Porsche's been great. Time to sell it next year in the summertime, and then buy something in late next year, probably November, December. 75, 80k, what would you buy? They're the kind of cars I kind of got it down to. That's what my thinking is at the moment. I'd be interested to see what your views are. As always, if you've got any questions, please just let me know.